December the 15th, 2025. I'm Rob Brown in Memphis. It is cold, ice cold. A lot of ice out there. If you're hunting, we broke it yesterday. Man, had one guy go in. He hacked it till about 8. He couldn't complete a sentence. It was too cold. We went in. But it's a great day. We got a lot. Rob Brown, Brendan Martin, and Ocala, Coach Ellis Johnson, Coach Pete Cordelli, Dave Bartoo, if he can squeeze it in today. He's got a tough morning. Still trying to fill all these staffs for all these coaching changes. Do us a favor. Take a picture with your cellular phone of the QR codes as we broadcast live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Rob Brown, SEC Sidelines. We do it every Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 a.m. Central. A lot of shows on this channel. We're going to be talking about SEC's path to winning the national championship. We're going to break down these matchups and the latest on some of these coaching things. I mean, Michigan's still out there looking for a coach. Bryce Underwood shared back on social media following LSU. I mean, what does that mean? You're going to go pay $12 million for him? I don't think he exactly looked like $12 million as a freshman. I know he's a freshman, but we'll talk about it. So let's get started right now. Pete Cordelli, Coach Ellis Johnson. I'll start with y'all. Pete, you talked last week about that Michigan disaster. And I have a lot of, I know, I've got kids and they've got friends. I had one of them call me and tell me about that situation at Michigan last week, right when it happened. He said that he has a friend at Michigan. He said that's been going on for a long time. Shenanigans. I'll just leave it at that. The women and children and orphans are watching, and widows as well. But that's a mess. And, and everybody's attacking Notre Dame because they didn't go to a bowl. And Pete, you've coached there. It is a different situation. People say, why is it always this, and this, and Notre Dame? It's not that Notre Dame thinks they're better than anybody. I do wish, I wish they were in the playoff. That's all I can say. But Pete, get started. Your take on all that.
Yeah, the Michigan situation has been going on for 2 years with Sharon and this young lady. He hired, when Sharon became the head coach, he hired her to be the head coach's personal assistant, whatever title that means. I have no idea in the job description what that means, okay? Other than we can go down the wrong path and start talking about the ugly side of it.
Yeah.
He hired her at $55,000. The talk, the chatter, where there's smoke, there's usually fire. It increased. After her first year, he increased her salary to $90,000, almost doubling the money.
Yeah.
As the athletic department heard the drumbeat get louder, he started asking his staff, because guys on the staff knew what was going on, and how should he handle it. The bottom line is he called her in on Monday and fired her. They said, you can move her to another spot in the department. Well, that wasn't going to do anything. He'd already given her this pay raise, and that was going to create more issues. Yeah. But everybody, look, there are no secrets in that building.
Yeah.
If there are, it comes as a shock maybe to 1 or 2% of the people.
Yeah.
So when he fired her, she then not immediately, at some point called her lawyer and said, what's my recourse?
Yeah.
I mean, here's a person out of a job, $90,000, a lot of money. I think it is. And so he started to text, she wouldn't reply. And by Wednesday, she'd had enough. She said, stop. I don't want to go to the police and get a cease and desist, a harassment deal. He would not stop. Wednesday morning, she went to Ward Manual, had the texts, emails, all of the other information that never disappears.
Yeah.
And Ward Manuel called Sharon in like an hour later and fired him on the spot. You know, people are going, well, he didn't even do it with HR or a lawyer. You don't need, if you're the boss, you don't need those folks.
Yeah.
When something is this egregious, you don't do that. Sharon, he's had conversations about his off the field escapades. Let's just put it that way. You know, he's not the first guy in the business, won't be
Yeah.
the last.
Yeah.
But then he went, once he got fired, he drove to her condo, went in, blamed it all on her, took out 2 knives and a pair of scissors and said he was going to cause harm to her. He was going to kill himself, blood would be on her hands. And it was like, so she called her lawyer. Her lawyer said, call the police. She told him, I'm calling the police. He took off. The police found him about 10 miles away from that apartment complex and obviously arrested him for the numerous charges that they've had. But you talk about flipping a program and many lives on its ear in a matter of 4 or 5 hours, because there's no guarantee those guys on that staff are going to be able to stay at Michigan. Now, they and their families are looking.
Yeah.
The problem at Michigan, Rob, is that there have been so many off the field incidents.
Yeah.
You know, they had a D-line coach under Harbaugh who got a DUI one night, and then about 3 days later got a second one. Harbaugh had to let him go. They've had a basketball player was caught speeding and intoxicated, and when the police stopped him, they said, we need to see your driver's license and your card.
Yeah.
The card had Ward Manuel's wife on it as the owner of the car.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is back in 2021.
Yeah.
You had a basketball coach slap a Wisconsin coach.
Yeah.
You've had all kinds of stuff. And it's all under Ward Manuel's watch.
And how he's kept a job. Yeah.
Now what's happened is there is a law firm out of Chicago that's investigating the athletic department. So the question that has come up over the weekend is, who's going to make the decision on the new hire?
Yeah.
Because if Ward Manuel's not going to be there any longer, I would never, and anybody, whoever wants to disagree, I would never hire a head football coach and an athletic director later. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
If you guys aren't together on the same page.
Yeah.
Look, Ellis has seen it. We've all seen it.
Yeah.
But at Michigan, it's a big time brand.
Yeah, it is.
But the problem you have is now, Rob, what are you doing with your core players who are getting ready for Texas in the Cheez-It Bowl?
Yeah.
What are you doing now in the portal? Because if you don't have a guy, now I think the guy that, this is just me from talking to a couple people over the weekend, I think Jed Fish from Washington, after the way they beat Boise the other night, Jed Fish is a well-respected guy in the industry. He's been in both the NFL and college football. What he did at Arizona, now what he did at Washington, what he's doing at Washington.
Yeah.
You better get somebody that's pretty clean, that the kids can and their families can kind of go, we trust this guy, and let's get rid of all the problems in the past.
I mean, it's a mess. And Dave, you see it. And Ellis, have you ever seen anything like that? I mean, anywhere where you've been, and I want to get Dave's thoughts on what might happen there.
Yeah, we caught in one at Alabama. Not nearly this bad, but I mean, Pete's kind of covered it all. But my whole point for the last 3 or 4 days is, what is the AD still doing there? I mean, how does it? This isn't 2 months of stuff. This is more than probably it's over 2 years.
Yeah.
And you say that stuff goes on in a lot of places. It's usually these big brand names that the stuff really gets rampant, because these people go in there, and when they win a few games, hell, if you'd beat Ohio State, They still might all be there. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just, but you get the big brands, and they think that nobody cares, nobody can touch them, and
Yeah.
they don't care, you know.
I agree. Dave, the biggest, news or disturbance out of Oregon that I can ever remember was that Bhagwan, the Bhagwan out the Rajneesh or whatever like that. I've never heard of any problems. How you doing, man? Thank you, by the way, for joining us. But,
the biggest disturbance was the Stanford band. Oh my gosh, man! When they were out on the field, they spelled pot out on the field. This was back when I was in school, and they trashed the Eugene Hilton and got banned for like a decade. And that's back when I was 18, and I'm like, there's been nothing to replace the Stanford band in college football in my mind. Just an absolute bunch of lunatics. But no, overall, it's pretty quiet out here. I mean, you think about it. I mean, this is kind of the world's epicenter, at least America's epicenter of drug confluence. I can go in my backyard and pick mushrooms with Aaron Rodgers. We brew more craft beer than anybody. We grow as much weed as anybody. So, it's pretty chill out here, with our hunting and fishing and guns and stuff. So, when people
gummies, and
gummies, and what people don't care. It's funny though. Right now, football related, the biggest hullabaloo that I came across is, last year all the Duck fans are like, man, we got screwed on our path to the championship. We got a first round bye. We didn't even get a home game. And then they get their first home game ever. if you go to Ticketmaster, it's like, dude, I'm walking in for me to go to that game, man. There's absolutely zero interest in James Madison in round 1 in Eugene right now.
Wow. I mean, it's a playoff game, Dave. All this coaching, if the staff's been filled out, how influx is that?
Oh, staffs are nowhere near filled out. It's an S show out there. Oh my God, dude. I can't. I was up at 3:30 this morning pulling reports. I worked every hour of the weekend. Running back coaches, special teams coaches, wide receivers, offensive line, offensive coordinator. I mean, just about no linebacker coaches, nothing on linebacker coaches searching. But literally hundreds of reports to 11 different chief of staff and head coaches for 1 second this weekend, it felt like.
Yeah. Pete, we'll go rapid fire here on this Monday morning because I'm telling you, it is cold here. I was out hunting yesterday. I mean, my gloves were freezing to the boat. We had 2 of our 3 guys, including me, that fell in. I'm gonna tell you what, I don't know what'd be wetter, burn to death or freeze to death. It was cold, but we shot a lot of ducks, so it was worth it. Pete,
you didn't get arrested on the way back, did you?
Yeah, no.
Some other guys a few years ago from Memphis that they had so many ducks, the blood was coming out the back, and finally the Arkansas State Police had to pull them over, and they were like, 100 ducks over the limit.
Oh yeah. You'll serve a little time in the big house for that one. Pete, look, right now with coaches, what Dave just said, and I want you and Ellis to go. We'll go fast on this.
Yeah.
Finding coaches right now. Dave's got over 15,000 coaches in his database going back to 2010. I'm telling you, they don't make them like you and Ellis, like they used to. I mean, y'all are
different.
That's a good thing.
Yeah,
no,
that's
it's
exactly right. Shoot, the biggest thing that's increased in college staffs right now are the off the field support staffs. You still only have 10 on the field coaches.
Yeah.
When Mac Brown was in Texas, he told me one time, he said, Pete, we have to put the analysts in orange jerseys, in orange T-shirts. We have to put the GAs in blue. We have to use different colors because we have our compliance people watching practice to make sure the wrong person isn't talking to the wrong guy. Wow. I said, Mac, how in the hell can you do that? And he said, let me tell you something. I'm spending more time watching a guy in a blue t-shirt run over to a green t-shirt. I said, Mac, this is ridiculous. And right now, the staffs continue to grow. Look, we all know the transfer portal department is the same as pro scouting in the NFL. It's the trickle down, okay? The college scouting department is the high school recruiting department.
Yeah.
But you got so many people trying to watch film and all this tape and stuff, and then you walk into the building. Billy Napier and Lane Kiffin had 70 people on their website now. I'm talking about you can actually go to those schools. There's 70 people. Let me tell you something. And Ellis knows this better. He was the defensive coordinator. He knew what he wanted done, how he wanted it done, when he wanted it done. He didn't need all that yabba dabba do coming in. And right now, there are some good young coaches that won't get a chance because all of a sudden, well, I got to hire my buddy. I got to hire this kid's father.
Yeah.
And that stuff has been going on for a while.
Yeah.
But how good of a coach are they?
Yeah.
That's why what Dave does is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, when you want to get down to the nitty gritty, it's right there.
Yeah.
And I've read some of those reports. Dave, you and your team do a great job.
Yeah. I mean, it is like financial stuff analysis on a company. It's that good. So Ellis, talk real quick about when you're defensive coordinator, how distracting would that be to have to deal with 25 people on the defensive side? Like, I'm a ball coach. That's how I'd feel.
Well, the biggest thing, if you got any organizational skills, you can filter out the crap and keep it away from you. Mm-hmm. But when you got that many coaches and you're letting them talk to players, you get different mixed messages. Two coaches can say the same thing. Try to tell a player to do the same exact thing, and they do it in different verbiage. And the kids get mixed messages. Yeah. And I wouldn't want that many. I see them with 15 people up behind them in the press box. I don't know. I guess they're checking everything from shoe sizes to whatever else. But
yeah,
all that stuff to me was so. Now I think crunching numbers and bringing in, evaluating things and getting evaluation on the opponents and scouting and all that, it could probably help. But the other thing is, I was sort of an old school pencil and paper guy, and I couldn't handle these tablets on the sideline and everything now. I'm sure they're helpful because I've got some young coaches used to work for me, and hell, they love them. And they're not young coaches anymore. Yeah. But I was kind of on the back end of that, and I just didn't like all that stuff. Yeah. And I had to sometimes tell my GAs or whatever, go do something and just get the hell out of this so I can watch film.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, when Nick Saban was his last year at Alabama, every time they went on the road, they had 23 people in the press box, and every one of them had a headset on. 23. And you know why? Two different schools, I had two people I knew. They said they counted them. I said, what were they doing? He said, I don't know, but all of them had headsets on. I said, who in the hell are they talking to? 23 people in the press box.
I think they're listening to Sturgill Simpson. I mean, I don't think they're paying. I don't know what they're doing. But Dave, I went to see Sturgill last year at the FedEx Forum. That guy, at the South Haven, at the Landers Center, actually. Landers Ford, Memphis.com, the Landers Center. It was the greatest arena I have ever been in. It was awesome. Dave, I got questions here. One Stone Angel. What does Dave think about the hires at Florida? I want to get your thoughts about some of these hires because, again, I'm with Pete and Ellis. We have formed an intellectual cabal, and Brendan reads it too. But the data you're putting out, Dave, anybody watching, we got a lot of coaches and people, pay attention to this stuff because you start connecting the dots with what Dave does at College Football Matrix. You're going to start seeing the wins, and you're going to get rid of all the insanity, I think, most of it.
Sure. Well, I do agree with Pete. I think one of the insanities is people are trying to overcomplicate a very simple game. There's too many headsets. There's too many people. People are worried about too many opinions or missing out on something. And now we're having churn. We got coach churn. We got player churn. There's lack of continuity in college football. and lack of continuity is just essentially dysfunction. And so the brand of football you see today is far worse, coaching and player wise, than you've ever seen before. It is a really crappy version of the game you love, fans. So, but those things have got to be sorted out at some point. Coach wise, holy moly, where do we want to start with that? You said Florida. I put out some articles this weekend that profile a lot of the three new Florida coaches in particular, Buster, Brad, and John. And one of the articles I was particularly proud of is in working on that project, we were able to use advanced metrics to pair Buster's strengths and weaknesses over his career relative to the offensive line coach strength and weakness. So if you go onto our website, I posted it after the hire, but you can see Buster and Troutline. You can see their strengths and how they're compatible in balancing each other. So I don't know if it'll work, but it looked awful damn cool. Troutwine, 4-star offensive line coach, very solid there with powerful experience at Penn State. Obviously, he's a Florida grad, so that makes everybody's sports pants tight in Gainesville. Buster Faulkner, the thing I like about him is he hasn't laid a clunker. I'll keep saying this on the show, but one of my biggest jobs when I'm working with a head coach is protect my head coach. And how I protect my head coach is I try to make sure he knows that if he hires somebody, how bad has that guy laid a clunker before? Because clunkers get you fired, right? Yeah. Buster Faulkner has got a nice high floor, doesn't lay clunkers, never been elite, right? You're likely never to get elite offense out of Buster, but you're about to get a very, very good one and a consistent one. Brad, on the other hand, he's had elite seasons. We've all seen it. And I'm sure Ellis, with his defensive mind, there's a few games he's watched Brad White call and just went, wow, the talent in Kentucky should not be anywhere near this team they're being right now. It's all because of the defense. So I like that side of them. And it sounds like, Brendan, is Marcus Davis getting hired as a wide receiver coach? I think
Florida?
Florida.
Yeah, he's an Auburn guy. He's from Daytona Beach, went to Seabreeze High School.
No, I know where he's. I know that. I was just wondering if Florida's made it. Yeah. Well, I got a cool story about Marcus Davis. Our data found him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our data. So this was near the end of the cycle, and wide receiver coach was the last one that Auburn had to fill, and coach is like, I have this amount of money and I don't know which guys to go and get or talk to. Can you find the best young wide receiver coach? I'm like, we got one on our board we've been watching since he posted a great year at Hawaii. And he had a couple great years at Hawaii and nobody noticed. And he went to Georgia Southern. And he's had a couple of great years at Georgia Southern. And nobody noticed because these teams weren't very good. He happens to be an Auburn grad. And it was Marcus Davis. And it was because the data found Marcus that got Marcus to Auburn on Christmas Eve. Literally, I believe he was offered on Christmas Eve that job. Because my wife's like, would you get off the phone? I'm like, but it's coach. We're working. Come on. It's Christmas Eve. Cheers all around. And so that is a little itty bitty piece of how Marcus Davis got into Power 4 and found his way to Florida eventually.
Yeah. Marcus Davis is expected to be hired by UF. It has not been announced, but that 7 hours ago, the reports that UF is expecting to hire Marcus Davis.
Yeah. Okay. So like Ellis, I want to ask you, like what Dave said about Brad White. I kept hearing his name from y'all and people like he's the Kiffin killer. He also messes with Kirby's Georgia teams and Florida as well. But he's going to have much better talent. Ellis at Florida. What do you think he'll do? I mean, what kind of, I don't know what kind of a recruiter he is, but if you're at Florida, you pretty much should have to only choose, not really recruit, not in a state like that.
Also on a losing effort, but they embarrassed Texas this year.
Yeah.
Their offense. I don't know. I think that obviously when you leave a place where you can't get the elite talent and you go somewhere that you can pick and choose, I mean, obviously it'll make you a better coach as long as, you know, you got kids that are playing hard. You look at some of these people who've had their pick in the portal over the last 4 or 5 years, they don't always produce. So it's not only talent. I mean, I don't want to overvalue, but you got to have some kind of character and culture and all that. And it's getting hard as hell to build that now.
Yeah. Dave, on the Arkansas hire, the first day he was there, Ryan Silverfield flipped 4 of the top 6 kids in state of Arkansas toward Arkansas. Missouri's been really recruiting that state hard. Eli's from Alma, which is right, but Fort Smith, Fayetteville, right there on I-40. What can Ryan Silverfield do other than go to the NIL collective, the Razor's Edge, and say, you've got to give me as much money on defense as you do on offense? Because they weren't doing that before, I don't think.
I don't know what the situation was. It ultimately is how much money is there and where does it get spent. But I also feel that fans, media, severely overvalue the portal. Every once in a while it works, so all of a sudden it's this great panacea of talent grab. And when you look at most of your playoff teams, you look at your teams that were in the semis last year, these teams are averaging 5, 6, 7 transfers each a year. A few guys. Most of it is being built from the ground up, and that's how NFL franchises do it. The more free agents in the NFL. Show you guys the studies. I can send them to you. I've done the work over 20 years. The more you use free agents, the crappier your franchise is. It's almost linear. The worse you are at drafting, your NFL franchise sucks in sync with how few starts you get out of the draft. So I look at that from college football wise. The more free agents you sign, the crappier you're going to be long term. You might get a short term hit. You might get a little bump. You might get a little Mel Tucker run for 1 year, and then you're going to stink. And all these other programs that hit it big early. But now everybody has money. Now everybody's scouting these guys. That world doesn't exist anymore. Yeah. So get it out of your head. It still goes back to, how well can I recruit? And that's been one of Dan Lanning's things here. If you watch their roster movement, they don't lose the 2 deep. Everybody else is in and out, 20, 10, 20, 25 guys in and out. His starters are there. So they prioritize getting them, developing them, and keeping them, and filling holes that come up and evaluating why the holes came up in the process. I think that the NFL has showed us that's the best way to go, and I think that's the best way to go.
Pete, I want to ask you something.
The circle goes unbroken.
Yeah.
When Ellis and I first got into coaching, that was the JUCO philosophy. Yeah. We've seen this a million times. Go to JUCO. We need older players. Let's get this stopgap right now. And then all of a sudden, you might have a good hit for 1 or 2 years. And then those JUCO guys leave, and all of a sudden there's a gap between the high school players, and the program goes down. So, Dave, all that's been added is some money, because back then JUCO guys were getting money too.
Yeah.
The Midnight Riders were out.
We call it the pig and the python.
The Midnight Riders were out delivering, baby. I mean, they had nothing on the milkman now. I'm telling you.
Dave, I mean, what he just said, Kirby Smart, best college football coach right now, at least best defensive coordinator. I think he's the best coach. Again, the way he interacts with every player, but he says, we like to win with the guys we recruit that have been with us out of high school. And Dave, you just, and Pete and Ellis, you know this. When you try to, I'll give you an example. There are restaurants out there that try to steak fry ribs. You can't do that, or brisket. It takes about an hour a pound. If it's 15 hours, that's 15 hours. When you try to shortcut, you look at Jackie Sherrill, 97 to 2000 at Mississippi State, the best 4-year run they've ever had. And then 01, 2, and 3, with so much JUCO dependency, they just went down, down, down. it's a quick fix. It's a Band-Aid approach, Dave. Is that fair to say versus surgery?
It is. We call it the pig and the python. When you overload one class, it just kind of goes through as a big bulge in the entire program, and nobody really sees it until it's gone, and there's this huge void of talent and experience. So, but it's also understandable because fans want instant wins. It's an instant oatmeal drive-through society, and they want to be in the playoffs right now. And all of these quick fixes again create a worse product. There's no patience. There's no growth. And so the demands of the fans and players and coaches and everybody moving around only serves to make it worse. I think the best coaches are the ones that are able to create and maintain continuity in their staff and their players.
Yeah. Ellis, I got to ask you something. Recruiting the state of Georgia, Pat Dye used to say, look, I grew up in that state. I played for Georgia. 2 older brothers did. There's a great prospect in the state of Georgia, and Georgia wants him, it's damn near impossible to get him out. But there's a lot of people in this state, and not all of them grew up in Georgia. And if a kid wants to leave, it's statistically 48% of the time, the studs in Georgia, if they don't go to Georgia, are going to 2 schools, Auburn and Clemson. Auburn quit recruiting Georgia when Brian Harsin was there. I know from a major Auburn booster because a Georgia coach called him and said, what's happened? We couldn't go in or out of a kid's house or high school without bumping into Auburn coaches coming or going. They were everywhere. Then they quit. When you recruited Georgia, did you go to Dooley County High School, Vienna, Georgia, to get Montravius Adams? Did you go get him?
I was riding I rode with him.
Okay.
For one of the school visits.
Yeah.
And this is neat place.
But it was obvious he was a player when you saw
it. Looked a lot like where I went to high school.
There you go. But Ellis, I'm asking you, like high school recruiting versus say a kid. If a kid goes to junior college, now I'm not saying there's something wrong with them, but oftentimes there are issues. I mean, we know that. What did you prefer? You always took a few JUCO kids, but Dave and Pete are right. I want your take.
Well, this is totally different now. I mean, I was gone before all this started, but we used to have a saying: if you take one, you got to take another one. It just becomes a cycle because you only have them for 2 years. Hell, some of them will leave early, and you had them for 1 year.
Yeah.
So once you get into that cycle, it's hard to break it, and so you tried not to take one ever if you could, but sometimes you had to, Yeah. But one quick story, and Pete may know who this guy was, but y'all were talking about headsets a while ago, and all these people got them. Who the hell are they talking to? Back when Switzer was still coaching in Oklahoma, there was a guy that was always by him on the sideline, and I thought he must be the damn associate head coach or something.
Yeah.
And finally, I'm working with a guy that used to be on the Oklahoma staff as a young coach. I said, who was the guy that was always right by Switzer on the bench? And he started laughing. He said, hell, that's one of Barry's good friends. He said he gave him a headset and said, put the plug back in your back pocket, and gave him an Oklahoma jacket. And I don't know who the hell it was. I bet Pete knows, but It was a true story. He would let his guy probably given a couple of million a year or something, but he'd let him walk the sidelines with him the whole game.
Ellis, it was his guy that invested in oil for him.
Okay.
So you're exactly right, but I know exactly
that headset on, and he looked as good a coach as any other coach on that sideline.
And let me tell you something. Yeah, his headset wasn't plugged in, and Lacewell hated the guy because Lacewell, you know how animated he was. He'd bump into him all the time, and finally turn around and get the F out of here, And Barry's like, Larry, slow down. I mean,
you couldn't have people in the coaching box.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
You could have them outside the coaching box.
Oh, yeah.
No. Passes, but that wasn't good enough for this dude. So Barry's like, give him some coaching clothes and headsets. He can go anywhere he wants to go. Leave him alone.
It was crazy.
You know what, Ellis? Yeah. That's when spring games became for head coaches. We got to invite the car dealers in to call plays. And we got to invite this alumni. And we got to invite this professor. Switzer was doing that way before anybody else.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
great.
he
the
started.
guy never had it plugged in. It was
Well,
But I'll tell you, this addition of coaches and everything, this so-called front office, you got to almost have that in college now. But the thing about they've changed the rules about who can coach players. Y'all were talking about the colored shirts at Texas. That's because if you were a GA, you can coach a kid.
Right.
If you were an analyst, you're not supposed to talk to them.
Yeah.
You're a chart guy, whatever. And that's what I did with Muschamp. I never talked to players. Everybody knew who I was. I couldn't have gotten away with it. Yeah. So anyhow, now I understand the addition of these staff members. What I don't like is that they're talking to my players.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have my coordinators real quickly, make sure and thin that down. Quit. You can't have 25 people in these kids' ears now. I'm just telling.
Yeah. Dave, let me ask you this. You talk about the myth of the middle eight, and I heard it the other night during the Boise State, Washington, in the bowl game. That was a pretty cool crowd out there. And they were talking about it. You said there are 14, just do the math, a 60-minute game. There's 14 4-minute segments of a football game. You said the middle eight ranks 11. Kind of go back and remind people of what that really means, because I had a lot of people going, "What do you mean, Brown?" I said, "Well, let's talk to Dave."
Oh, well, it was a thing that Nick Saban and Bill Belichick coined a long time ago, and I think it was taken as Bible because it came from them. But basically, they said, "Look, if you win the middle 8 minutes, last 4 minutes of the second quarter, first 4 minutes of third quarter, you win that, you win most of the games." And I never actually heard it before. Until somebody brought it up to me recently. And I was like, so people believe that this 8 minutes of a 60-minute game decides over 70% of the games, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there just saying bat-ass crazy. So the next thing I did is I started investigating who did any work on this. Nobody's ever, it's just a hypothesis. It was just something that was put out there and suddenly became real. And so I took the last 10 years of NFL games, and I took a look at that middle eight and who won and who lost based on the scoring margin in that middle eight. And then I was like, okay, well, what about the first eight of the first quarter? And the last eight of the first quarter, and the middle eight of the first quarter and the second quarter? And I went through all NFL games. And there's 11 8-minute blocks in a game. And the middle eight in the NFL over the last 10 years is the fourth most valuable section of eight. It's about 71%. 11 in the NFL are between 68 and 72%. They're almost all equally valuable, except one 8-minute section of the NFL. And if you win that, you win 86% of the games. And oh, Lord have mercy, we are all so surprised. In the NFL, it's the last 8 minutes. That's it, right? So this middle eight at the NFL is crap. They're 8-minute block, okay? But here is where everybody is going super wrong. For everybody listening that is a coach or a fan, the NFL doesn't mean it applies to your college and high school at all. Right. These numbers aren't transferable. So I did it in FBS. In 2024, the least valuable 8-minute section of all of FBS football was the middle eight. It was worth 0 relative to everything else. The most important numbers at the FBS level: 4 minutes of the first 4 minutes of the fourth, last 8 of the fourth, last 8 of the first. Start strong, finish hard. That's FBS football, not NFL. So the moral of the story really is on the numbers. You got to find out how it works for you at your level and not take some big coach's advice as it applies to you.
Yeah. So Dave, let's go to Georgia. Let's go to Georgia.
Yeah.
They started slow so many games, and that was the concern the first 8 minutes of the first quarter. But now they come back in the second half, and they've captured the last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter. Would that be a fair assessment of Georgia?
It could be. It could be. I don't have Georgia's numbers right in front of me, but one of the most important number that I found, and I've spent about a year working on finding the most important college football, which defines wins and losses. Okay. And everybody I talked to said it was winning the turnover battle, right? You win the turnover battle, you win the game. And it's the second most important thing. It was the first most important thing when I started. It's now the second. I went back all the way to 2010 and I created a momentum index. Momentum is more, the offense and defense working together is more valuable than the turnover battle. You win the momentum battle and you lose the turnover, you win 3 out of 4 games in the last 16 years. Okay, not this year, not last year, 16 years. Okay, so when we're talking about Georgia or anybody else, and I'm telling you, when you're watching a game, folks, is the momentum, and I won't go too much into it, but watch the momentum in the game in terms of scoring and not scoring. Okay, and like a Georgia starting slow, you are allowing another to get to a certain point where the game is over. And so there's a momentum level in college football. Once you reach it, the game is 92% over. If you reach it at any time in the game. In the NFL, there's a little bit lower momentum level. If you reach that, 88% win rate. So with a Georgia or anybody else, yes, it's great to finish hard. But ultimately, you want to put your foot down the best you can on the team in the first half so you don't have to finish hard in the second half. So these teams that are going into the playoffs, and if you go, man, they struggle in the first quarter or the first half, and they come back, the teams they're facing now, they're not going to get the shot to come back on as well. Okay? Yeah. You get that shot in the regular season. You got to build that momentum in the first half. Watch teams, how they build unanswered point leads in the first half and see how that goes in the playoffs this year.
Well, one thing, like if you're running a 5K race and coaching cross country, I always would tell people, have a great start. You better have a solid middle, but you better be on with your hair on fire at the finish. Because if you get caught from behind in the chute, that's like misspelling your own name. About finish lines, don't run to it, run through it. And that middle part is where a lot of people get bored, Dave. I love these stats. Ellis Johnson, fans are watching a game. And we wanted to talk also about these matchups, today's topics, breaking down the matchups in the CFP, the SEC's best case for winning the CFP national championship after loaning it to the Big Ten for 2 straight years. That's how the SEC looks at it. Dave has made so many great points. So have you, Pete and Ellis. But Ellis, is Georgia the SEC's best path to winning a national championship? Dave talks about top 3 scoring efficiency defense, top 3 scoring efficiency offense. And does the SEC really have any of those? I don't think so. But Georgia's playing their best football right now.
Yeah, if you go over the last 3 or 4 weeks, they might be a top 3 in defense.
Yeah.
But I think they definitely have the best track, maybe of every team, best track in the playoffs. First of all, Ole Miss and Tulane, they're going to play the winner of that. Tulane got beat 20-something points, but Ole Miss this year, they ended up playing 6 of the bottom 7 SEC teams. Now, they didn't write the schedule. They didn't know how it was going to turn out, but that's who they beat this year in the SEC, 6 of the bottom 7.
Okay.
They had 2 wins over top 25 teams the whole year. Okay? Oklahoma and Tulane. And then they had 1 win over a team that had a better than 500 SEC record, and that was Oklahoma. Wow. Okay, they what they did this year was impressive, yes, but when you look at what they really did, it wasn't all that great.
Yeah,
they hit it right this year on the schedule.
Yeah.
Now they, assuming every team plays up to their best level, I don't know if Georgia can beat Ohio State or Indiana. We learned something the other day. If you can get a little pressure on saying he is not a national championship quarterback, but they got the best looking roster. But then we look at Indiana, and I mean, they ain't supposed to be able to beat some of these other teams, but they're better football teams. They perform better. I mean, so I think it's going to be hard for anybody to beat Ohio State or Indiana, whoever gets to that last one. But I think Georgia's definitely got the best path right now.
Okay, Pete, I'm going to ask you quickly, and then we'll go back to Dave. Texas A&M, I think they're 7-1 in the SEC. Same thing. I think their 7 victories are against the bottom 8 of the SEC.
Yes.
They didn't make the schedule. They played what was given to them, but they gave up over 200-yard rushing on 4 different occasions this season. That's not good.
No, not at all. And I mean, they ranked 41st in the country in scoring defense. They're giving up 22 points a game. But if Cassius Howell doesn't come to the party and dominate, they struggle on defense. Their run fits aren't what I thought they would be with Mike Elko. I just think the corner play is suspect. They give up. If they get against some good receivers, they give up big plays. They give up explosives.
Yeah.
What we determined as explosives was any pass over 20 yards in every run, any run over 12 yards.
Yeah.
That's how we valued explosives. They have given up a number of explosive plays, and they're 38th in the country in rush defense. And I think what Texas showed us as fans is that when Texas is balanced, A&M got caught off guard.
Yeah.
And then the Texas defense got pressure on Marcel. And when the game gets sped up for Marcel, he reverts back to what I saw him here in Nashville in NBA. He starts becoming out of whack in his throwing mechanics. He'll try and overthrow, and he'll dip that front shoulder. And when those shoulders tilt, the ball either sails or you overthrow and it goes in the ground. So now he becomes, and as quarterbacks, I divide them up in 2 categories, throwers and passers. Passers are the guys that can make accurate throws under duress on a consistent basis. Their shoulder level is the same. Their hips, they don't tilt. The hips, everything is going for a balance. They're using ground force. They're doing things. Watch Marcel.
Yeah.
He reverts back to what he knows best. Number one, if I can't run it, I'll try and throw off platform, which doesn't work. And they, with Craver and Concepcion, I mean, my goodness, and the 2 running backs. But when A&M is forced to throw the football, like Ellis said about saying at Ohio State, you get pressure on Marcel Reed, they have trouble consistently making not big plays, just consistent plays. Keep the ball in play, move it down the field.
Yeah. A great take. Dave, Oklahoma and Alabama. Oklahoma, give them credit for forcing 3 turnovers in the 23-21 win in Tuscaloosa in November. In a scoring match, if there are no turnovers, in a perfect world, Alabama's offense, I think, is better than Oklahoma. But Oklahoma might have the best defense in the country with Brent Venables. I know you're not looking at X's and O's, but, Oklahoma and Alabama, what do you think happens there? And I think Jim Nagy. Jim Nagy's
so funny listening to. It's so funny listening to Pete, and I'm just like, I don't know any of these names. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I've never seen A&M play. I've never seen Miami play. He's talking about all this stuff. Those is, and just to go back on that game real quick, as he was talking, he's like, I'm like, well, the first thing that comes to my mind in the A&M defense is efficiency. They're not very good, and Bateman's defense is high risk, high havoc, high reward, and they give up massive amounts of explosive plays. And here's Pete talking about what he sees on tape, and it's matching the data in my head, and I've never seen it. And so, I agree. I think A&M is highly vulnerable in this game. Heatherman at Miami is top 4 in stopping momentum. This is going to be a really good game. Now, as for Oklahoma, Alabama, this may not be safe for work to watch, folks. This could be really ugly, and I'm talking like 6-3. Look ahead. The weather. Yeah, this is going to be a Beamer slobber knocker 0-0 overtime, right? There's going to be no mollywop here. But the mollywop is going to be the weather. Look forward at the weather in Norman. It is going to be crap. In Norman, okay. Look at that Alabama team. They couldn't score heated indoors the other weekend. Now they're going into sub 20 Oklahoma. Gonna be brutal. Absolutely brutal. So I think the defense, and the Oklahoma offense is garbage. I think 84th in scoring efficiency.
Yeah. Well, holy shnikes, we lost Dave. I think Barry Switzer got him. But what he's saying about that, did you saw my Encyclopedia of Southern Culture? Look at this thing. This is thick, man. This is a big, big book. I'm going to look up Mollywomp. I guarantee you, Ellis, it's in there. And if Dave comes back, I want to get into it. I think
Switzer got Rob.
Yeah. Switzer got me. Dave, you're back. I was showing you this, and when you come down here and duck hunt with us in January, I want you to look at this Encyclopedia of Southern Culture. I imagine on page 219, Mollywop is there.
Mollywop.
And another one from the South is
Google it.
Curb stomping. Curb stomping. But Dave,
Curb stomping.
Here's what I love. There is a podcast. Everybody should watch it. It's about 28 minutes and 38 seconds. It's called 1,000 Casts. It's with a hedge fund manager named Bill Ackman, very successful guy. And he was fishing in Patagonia, and his guide's name is Oliver. Oliver, no dummy. He graduated from Chapel Hill. But he's talking about
Stop it. I went to NC State.
Yeah,
they gave grades over at Carolina. They didn't go to class. Are you kidding me? Don't talk to me about that Carolina freaking education.
No. I'm just saying.
None.
Yeah, no, but I do love the Wolfpack too because of you and Tommy Payne. No, because Tommy's one of our basketball gurus who played there as a walk-on for the end of Jimmy V and Les Robinson. But Dave, he talked about why he hired Oliver to come up and work for Green Square Capital. I think that was the name of it, up in New York. And he'd been there for a while, and he sat him down. He said, I don't know really what I'm doing. He wanted him to come work for him. He said, I hired you because you think differently than all these other Harvard and Yale and Ivy League, tall, drinks of water. They all think the same. You think differently. The most fascinating thing I've seen doing this show in all these years just happened. One of them. Ellis, Pete, coaches, and then Dave goes, I don't know any of these names, whatever like that. I can just look at the numbers, and they match right up with what Pete and Ellis are seeing. That's the genius of Dave. And by the way, Dave, that roll-on pain deal that I got from Hemp for Pros healed that injury. I mean, I kid you. I started doing these stretches, and I put that on. That stuff works. HempForPros.com. I had pulled a muscle. It hurt so bad I couldn't sleep. The lights out gummies, the chill gummies, the energy. They absolutely work. HempForPros.com. 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 It sounds like a campaign slogan, but they absolutely work, Dave. So, Dave, what we just heard them both saying on that Oklahoma-Alabama, I witnessed Auburn, Mississippi State in 2008, 3-2. That set college football back 50 years. It was so bad. I witnessed it. Auburn's bullpen wore down Mississippi State's bullpen in the 11th inning. It was a rough night. I can't believe it ever happened. Was it two great defenses or two bad offenses?
I think it's going to be a good defensive game in Norman. I think that's what it really comes down to. And I think the difficulty for Alabama is you look inside the numbers and you break down that offensive scoring efficiency. It's really good on paper, but when you put it into the pass rush buckets, the rush struggles, and rushing in bad weather is gonna struggle. So I think Alabama got picked the wrong fight at the wrong time in the wrong place in December.
The other thing that happens, and Ellis, I believe, will agree with me, tackling matters in bad weather. You slip off a bunch if you don't run your legs, run through, and wrap up. Dave, I do have a question for you concerning your other search. Marcus Freeman to the Giants. Marcus Freeman to the Giants.
That something, he is an extremely articulate, well-organized football coach. And so I believe if he wants to take his shot there, he should go for it. I'll agree that even if he fails at the Giants, there's going to be a door open for him at college football the day he leaves. So if that's in his heart, right? If he's like, I want a shot at the, under the big lights, I want to be one of the 32, I say absolutely go for it. I don't care if you're successful or you fail. He is an excellent head football coach. He makes college football better. And no matter where he goes, he's always welcome in my college football world. So if the Giants say he's the guy and he wants to do it and he wants to take that shot, man, I would absolutely, if I'm his dad, I'm like, dude, son, you go for it. And no matter what, you're still awesome. Go back to college football if you want.
Yeah. Southwest Ohio kid from south of Dayton. I know that. I know Lauren Meadows on this show Tuesday night knows him. They played in high school together. Ellis, you heard what he just said about, I like what Pete just said about tackling when it's cold. You got to run through, keep your legs going. How much fundamental technique and whatever do you think is being taught when you've got 30, 70 analysts? I mean, I looked at the Florida football picture of the team under Billy Napier. There were more support personnel and coaches and analysts than there were players.
Yep. The tackling thing being when he gets real wet, that's a problem. And wet and cold together, that's a huge problem. I mean, it's like trying to tackle an animal or something from the water. Yeah. And I remember we play in Auburn, one of my years at Alabama, and Ronnie Brown, and it was a wet day, and it was kind of like 50 degrees day game. And man, we were getting all around him, but we were sliding off of him. And it's true. I mean, it makes you have to be fundamentally perfect. Now, back on those GAs or analysts or whatever they are, I just feel like it's okay if you got all that staff support and you got it organized and they're constantly in there working on evaluating the portal and evaluating recruits and handling all kind of things. And maybe even out on the field, some things they can do to make a position coach's life easier. But as far as the communication to the player, and I know I'm repeating myself, the communication to those players, it needs to be careful about too many damn voices in their ear, because it's hard to teach kids when you're getting different messages, from different people. I mean, I just think it's ultra important.
Yeah, you can overcoach it. I'm about out of time.
Some of these damn practices are performative now. You go out there and they got music on, and the coaches are carrying microphones around, and they don't use it to yell at a kid every 10 minutes. It's like it's almost like the difference of a damn horsefly and a hornet. I mean, a horsefly will irritate the hell out of you, and after a while, you just kind of don't even pay attention to it. Fucking hornet hits your ass.
I love it.
When you play for guys like Lou Holtz and Bobby Ross, and that trigger hits, you don't want to be the guy that he's triggered by.
You're getting mollywopped.
Yeah, I love it, Dave. When you come down here and duck hunt with us, you are going to hear some stuff. You're going to go back and go, man, I'm a changed man. But look, hey, awesome show. Thank all of y'all more than you know for sharing your time with us. Dave, I know you got chores to do. Hempforpros.com, the College Football Matrix. How do people reach you, Dave, if they want to find coaches and just tap into your brain, which is like a super cyber hypersonic computer in NORAD?
Well, just hit my text line. No, just text me 971-217-8419. Text me. I'll get right back to you eventually. Right. I hope.
We'll do it, man. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. Hempforpros.com. Let me wrap up. Awesome show. Let's say LandersFordMemphis.com. They're open every day of the week except Sunday. Shout out to Sag's Big and Tall Shop, over 100 years in West Memphis, Arkansas. The day means more than the dollar. The night open on Sunday. As for Brad Bellamy, the general manager, all the new cars, trucks, and SUVs, service department, second to none. They pick you up, take you to and from to get your vehicle worked on. Expeditions, F-150s, F-250s, commercial trucks, the King Ranches, the Ford Escapes, these Broncos, ladies, Robin Egg Blue. Oh, man, they've got them. Four-wheel drive. They are the best vehicles. Ford, LandersFordMemphis.com. Hey, also, right down the street, Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the Historic Square. Open every day of the week, including Sundays, 1 to 5 p.m. through Christmas. Barber, Filson, over 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots. Best selection of clothing and boots and men's and women's and kids you'll ever find. And Rumble Box Fight is how you live. Hey, most often we see the face of the least among us. Have a great day, everybody.